I was looking for games to play recently when I thought to myself, hey, why don't you try out 5 games that you've never played before for around 30 minutes each and give your opinion on them. Oddly specific, I know, but a good idea. So I picked out 5 games that I've never touched before and I'll be trying each of them out for about 30 minutes. I also tried to pick out a wide variety of titles, so I'd have different things to say about each one. These are first impressions though, not full reviews, so I only give my opinion on as far as I've played. And the first game I'll be playing will be... oh no. Up for the DS is a movie tie-in game developed by THQ, so my standards aren't very high. The game is a 3D platformer, and the story follows that of the movie. The graphics are okay for the original DS, and the controls are decent too. The game has a lot of puzzles that primarily focus on the idea of controlling 2 separate characters with different abilities. Russell can swim and attack better, whereas Carol can jump higher and pull Russell up ledges. The game tends to rely on this gimmick a bit too much though, as a few times I had to jump on a high ledge with Carol and pull Russell up for no actual purpose apart from slowing down the gameplay. On the second level, a meter is added that once filled starts a fight with 3 random dogs. At the end of the first level you get a hearing aid that stops the dog meter from filling, but I was in a rush and didn't read the item description. The dog meter also fills really fast, so I was getting into 2-minute fights every 30 seconds. On their own the fights are pretty easy, but I kept stumbling into them, and eventually died at the very end of the level. After that I looked at what the hearing aid did and felt like an absolute idiot. Up for the DS is a pretty mediocre platformer and I really wouldn't recommend buying it. If you have a copy lying around you could try beat it since the game only has 6 levels so you could probably complete it in an hour or 2. And the next game is Kingdom Hearts 2.5 Final Mix for the PS3, the remaster of the sequel to the famously strange mix of Final Fantasy and Disney. I've never played any Kingdom Hearts games or Final Fantasy games before this, but I'd heard a lot of stuff about them so I had some idea of what to expect. And when I start the game I get a recap of Kingdom Hearts 1 that completely confused me and reminded me that I probably should have played that game first. I start off in Twilight Town and play as a character named Roxas. In the half an hour I played there wasn't a lot of combat, and even then I could only do a basic attack, but the reversal move is pretty satisfying and gives fights a weird sense of speed. I spent most of my time doing jobs around the town that were nice little invisible tutorials, but it would have been great if the game told me I could just go up to the train station to move on to the next day, instead of leaving me to do the same jobs over and over again. I couldn't really care for the story though. It might be because I haven't played the first game, but even the stuff I could understand was kinda dumb. Like in one scene, a girl freezes time, walks up to Roxas, says she always wanted to meet him, and then walks away. The story just isn't really for me, but I enjoyed the combat and I'd love to play more. Next up is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. A much newer game, and a game I was really looking forward to playing as I'd recently beat Ori and the Blind Forest. The first had great platforming, beautiful music, and a stunning art design. My biggest problem was the combat though, which was pretty shallow. Will of the Wisps, on the other hand, goes above and beyond in this department, and implements a new combat system that is absolutely amazing. Your weird light ball thing has been replaced with a number of weapons that are much more satisfying to use. There are more than 5 characters now as well, which makes the world feel so much more alive. Everything great from the first game has been kept or improved upon, and that is exactly what a sequel should do. But even in the half an hour I played, there are a few freezes and loading times that got a bit excessive. I personally don't mind it that much, but there are a lot of people who would. I also began to notice that the game had taken a lot of ideas from Hollow Knight. It's not bad that Ori has shops and currency now, but some things are so blatantly ripped from Hollow Knight that it makes it a lot less unique, such as a map seller who appears around the middle of an area, and a guy who sells badge-like things that give you slight upgrades. These obviously improve the game if anything, but I would rather Will of the Wisps had unique ideas rather than copying ones. Of course it's not a rip-off though. There are loads of things in Ori that make it different than Hollow Knight, such as the atmosphere, combat and platforming. Overall, I adored what I played of Will of the Wisps, and will no doubt go back to it soon. And the next game is Mario and Sonic at the Vancouver 2010 Winter Olympic Games for the Wii. Could you make the title longer? Mario and Sonic at the Winter Olympic Games is the follow-up to Mario and Sonic at the regular Olympic Games from 2008, except this time with snow. It's meant to be more of a party game, so I wasn't sure how good this would be in single player. I played a few of the sports and it was okay. Most of them make you pretend to be doing something with motion controls and they can be a bit unreliable sometimes. My favourite activity was ice hockey, and that relied on motion controls the least. There's also party mode, which makes players compete in the game's activities and has an overall score that's determined by something like popping balloons. Mario and Sonic at the Winter Olympic Games might work as a fun party game, but I really have no interest in playing it again anytime soon. And the final game is the original Rayman. Rayman is a bit of a weird series as the games often change and have long gaps between releases, but they're always around. The first game has gotten some attention recently when it was featured in the PlayStation Classic, and that's how I played it. Don't worry, I didn't pay full price for this underwhelming lump of plastic. Rayman's art style looks very good, especially for 1995, and the animation is pretty smooth. The levels are structured in a weird way, as they are all divided into 4 or 5 sections. This was pretty strange for me, as I was way more used to the traditional level structure found in modern games. The game started out easy enough, but once I got halfway through the second level, it stopped messing around. I had to go through this pretty difficult auto-scrolling section.
That sure was hell to go through, but it can't get that much more difficult. Like next is a music level. It won't be that hard. This is my 74th attempt.
The music world is very challenging, and this is way too early in the game for a level like this. Rayman was advertised as a fun kids platformer, not a game to drive you insane. Would I recommend it today? Maybe. It does look pretty good, but there are lots of platformers I'd rather play, and the difficulty might be a bit too high for some. I'll probably go back to finish Rayman eventually, but not anytime soon. I also may use save states. Please don't shoot me. I know it's not the way the game was intended, but I really don't want to spend a year trying to beat it.
And there you have it. 5 games that I've now played for roughly 30 minutes each. I enjoyed all of them to some extent, but if I had to pick a favourite, it would probably be Orion up for the DS. Holy crap, a free ride in a hot air balloon?